Welcome to episode 242 of Friars on the Farm. I'm Donavan, and with me is Roy.
Oh, how you doing, Donovan?
I'm pretty good post parade Saturday and then going on to Friday.
I know, after all that talking that the Dodgers did about, oh, you guys host a parade after every time you beat us. And what did they do? They had a parade in the middle of losing a series here in San Diego. So we're going to talk about that in our Major League Minute. And then we've got usually we have our MILB news, but this time we're actually going to take it back a step earlier. We've got some perfect game and some youth sports related news. And then we've got our affiliate rundown for you.
Absolutely. But let's quickly go over what a fantastic weekend that was. The Friday's game was incredible. It's funny how this team plays up against the better teams, how it plays up against the Dodgers, specifically when it's our World Series, we play up.
It was funny because I was at that game on Friday, and it was a pitcher's duel. There was some good defense. I don't remember there being like outstanding eye-popping defense. It's just two pitchers were out there on their game, mowing everybody down. And the Padres got the one hit, Campusano hitting the home run off of Tyler Glasnow, and then it was the bottom of the ninth. So it's not necessarily to me, it's not necessarily that the Padres played up. Michael King played up for sure. The bats on both sides were pretty quiet in that game. And then the Padres just got the big hit at the end. But so when we were watching that game live, I'm out in left field. So, I could only see so much. I wasn't paying that close of attention, I guess, because I didn't realize that Tyler Wade was brought in to pinch run. So Campusano gets the double. The next thing I know, Miralles is up there, and I'm like, okay, contact hitter. He's going to put the ball in play. What's going to happen? Line drive up the middle. And I look, and I see third base coach spinning the wheel, sending him. And I'm like, that's Campusano. Is he sending him? And run scored easily. I found out after the fact that it was Tyler Wade. Even the guy sitting behind me was like, I can't believe they sent him.
And you're like, Campy's running pretty good there. He's kind of chucking.
Yeah, I mean, Campy runs pretty good for a catcher, but still, he's a catcher.
He does, and Wade though runs a little bit better. And it was such a fantastic, and to find out later this last weekend that Baseball Savant now has bat speed readings, and to find out that Luis Arias has the slowest bat speed in all of Major League Baseball. So
it's kind of by design, though. I mean, you watch him, and he doesn't swing hard. There was a really good article. There's a newsletter put out by somebody whose ghostwriter name is Arky Sinfracco, and it hit my email today, and it was referencing an analysis done on Baseball Prospectus, and they were pointing out that Arias, he's got pop when he wants it. And they showed a home run swing where he turned on one that was up and in, and it's like he knew that the pitch was coming, and he just turned on it and launched it. But that's not how he swings 95% of the time.
Right.
He's trying to square the ball up, and that's the other thing that metric shows is, I don't remember exactly what they called it, but how many hits you're actually squaring up, and it's the ratio of the pitch velocity coming in and the ball's velocity going out. So
barrels, right? They call it barrels. Isn't there's an X profile that has barrels, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a home run or a hit. It could even be a ball caught.
Well, a barrel has to be above a certain velocity and then within a range of launch angles. Where this new metric is just velocity in versus velocity out. So how well did you square that ball up? So even though he wasn't swinging hard, he still got the sweet spot of the bat on it. And so it's line drives over the infield and through the gaps. He really is such a different player than anybody else in the league. It's funny because you look at that plot and you've got Luis Arias all the way up here, and then all the way down there in that corner is Giancarlo Stanton with crazy bat speed and just like a ton of swing and miss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that game was just the perfect encapsulation. He got a hit his first time up. He got the walk-off double when it was all. He didn't get a hit his first time up, but the walk-off double was like, welcome to San Diego. And what a great game. And then they won the game yesterday. Another kind of a nail biter, a close game. And they wound up, it was 4-0, but still against that offense, you can't write them off. But they kept Mookie Betts quiet. They didn't get too much damage from Freddie Freeman. Max Muncy didn't do a gosh darn thing other than make a couple decent plays at third base. So I'm always happy to see that. leprechaun,
Yeah.
go look for your pot of gold elsewhere. You won't find any any green clovers or purple horseshoes over here.
That Muncie looks like a mouse to me. He looks like a rat. He like had that little pointy nose. He just looks like a rat to me. But let's go back to Michael King. Dude, Michael King was absolutely a beast, and he had the changeup working, and it was just, I just felt confident as the game went on. There's a point in a time in a game where even if we lose that game, it's like watching him pitch really well. If we lose that game 2-1, or by a 1 run or 2, it's almost a win. Just having him pitch so well against the Dodgers, and then the Saturday game, you see the lineup, you see Waldron pitch, and you go, it was like, okay, here's his last shot. That day, I read the article that Jeff Sanders put out about what Waldron's been working on with Ruben Niebla, and he made some changes, some mechanical changes, and some stride changes in his release to the plate. And I mean, you really couldn't ask more than what he gave you, and that was 2 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings. Like, he actually kept us. Yeah. He kept us in the game, and so what that does is that gives him another shot in the rotation, and to see if some of those changes stick when he pitches again. He just had some bad luck being. In Colorado where it's the moisture in the air and it's just a little bit different. He
was good in Colorado. It was the game after that he got lit up in Phoenix.
In Phoenix.
Yeah, I was surprised that he did well in Colorado. You would think that that's one place where that knuckleball just wouldn't do its thing. And there's no density.
Right. But when the knuckleball tumbles, it stays flat and it's really hittable. So to see him make those changes in Saturday, he gets another shot at the rotation, and that's kind of what we need from him is to continue getting better. And some, it could be a step forward, it could be a step back, but as long as he's moving forward, that gives time for the guys in the minors to continue to develop and get longer looks and development in the minors.
Right. So Matt Friars has been doing a pretty good job of putting out interviews recently. We've got an interview from Krob and Bergert that we're going to talk about next week. They just put out an interview with Adam Mazur that I'm sure we're going to talk about that one next week as well. We got enough stuff to talk about today. But Padres taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. Now they're up 5-3 on the season season series. So that's good start, and it's a rough stretch of the season. You got D-backs, Cubs, Dodgers. Now they play the Rockies, a little bit of soft spot, but then Braves, the Reds, they're sneaky good. The Yankees have been playing really good. So this is a tough month. So getting a couple of series wins against the Cubs and the Dodgers, pretty good start.
Good. Well, and also real quick before we move on, I think we've won this series against the Cubs. So that's another team that's looking to be in the playoffs. Could be a wild card contender. It could come down to who had the better record against each other during the season. Obviously, the LA is still very comfortably in first place, but who knows if things change. We showed how they are vulnerable with their pitching rotation. That it might come down to us winning the series. And I think right now we're up 5-3. I think we're winning this series.
That's a good point about the tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go move on, though, I'm going to say it. We do it every episode. Go to Apple, hit subscribe, give us a review, go to the YouTube channel, smash subscribe. I'm going to put some video along some video that'll be silent video, picture in picture on the YouTube channel. And we have some other audio video coming up later on. We have merch. I'll put the link in the description. I lowered prices. I put a 15% promo code on there. So you guys just go there, buy some new merch. I think I'm going to buy myself a new shirt. I'm wearing the pitching ninja shirt, but I think I'm going to buy myself another Friars on the Farm shirt.
Shout out to Emily Waldron there with that shirt with the pink breast cancer awareness pitching ninja shirt.
Absolutely. You can follow us on X, Instagram, Threads. Yeah, here we go.
All right. So our next topic here, So Brit Ghiroli is one of my favorite writers in baseball. She covers a lot of things that are outside the lines, and she does a fantastic job. And last week, she put out 2 articles about youth sports that really kind of opened my eyes a little bit. The second one was it's just kind of touching on things that we've talked about in the past, but this first one really caught me by surprise. Yeah. So why the Perfect Game and Fanatics deal has agents raising concerns about amateur player rights. Perfect Game, the world's largest youth baseball tournament and scouting service, is expected to officially agree soon on a multi-year memorabilia deal with Fanatics for an undisclosed amount. The deal involves Fanatics producing and distributing trading cards, collectibles, and other memorabilia of Perfect Game athletes later this year. We've warned players for the past 2 years the Perfect Game is now signing away your individual rights for cards and for other things that should not be the design of the platform, said Scott Boras, arguably the most powerful agent in the sport. They've now gotten into profit taking on this. We're letting all athletes know this is a reason not to sign their documents, not to participate. If they demand that, I wouldn't recommend student athletes give those rights away. Why would they? Agents cannot officially represent amateur players, but can advise them until they're drafted by a professional organization. Added another veteran agent who spoke on the condition of anonymity to avoid any blowback for players he advises. They're getting kids underage to sign contracts with no representation at all. Parents also sign who don't understand the ramifications. It's unethical and it's borderline illegal. They know that and they're still doing it. There should be a class action lawsuit against Perfect Game by the parents. Now, the article goes on into the details of what the waivers are and what they include and all of this, but you've got your kid in youth sports and you're trying to get your kid seen so they can get scholarships, so they can maybe get signed by a pro team. The last thing that you're thinking about is that maybe this organization wants to exploit my kid and make a buck off of them.
Right.
And I wonder how this plays. Like, so some of these, not all these kids get drafted. Some of these kids are here to find an opportunity in college. So then they go to college, they become the next Paul Skeens or whatever. And now they don't have the right to their own name, image, likeness when they have that opportunity to make some money on their own. I mean, you think of Perfect Game as being this showcase to help kids get to the next level when really there's this exploitation built into it, and it's just so greedy.
And we know this from all travel sports and probably all travel sports, not just baseball, like travel ball for hockey, for soccer, for everything. It is about making money. Sure, these kids get seen. They're, showcases. We watch the showcases at the stadiums around the country. But having them do this, it takes it to another level of borderline exploitation. They don't get, and they have to pay money to go to these things. It's not just, oh, hey, Donavan, you're invited to come play Perfect Game San Diego. That'll be $500. And then parents have to pay for hotel, and, you have to pay for all the stuff. I like it. It's interesting what it says here, and I'll read it. There's a section called media release. Within that, participants are informed that their signature at the bottom of the document grants Perfect Game the absolute irrevocable right to use their name, signature, likeness, image, voice, and or appearance in any photos, videos, audio, digital images, or cards on behalf of any Perfect Game or of its affiliates. Key affiliates at any present or future events related to Perfect Game. So you're going to be playing for Perfect Game, say from age 12, let's go 12, and that's probably a little old, to start to 15 to 17 to almost 18 years old. That's a good 5 years of likenesses that they can use and they can make money off of, and you get not one red nickel. And it does say here, the section also states participants will not receive any compensation for the use of those things and releases Perfect Game from any and all claims and demands related to usage and ownership of the participant's name, signature, likeness, images, voice, and appearance. So it states in there, we're not going to pay you, but we're going to make money off it. The only way I could see that possibly being anything remotely okay is if they start lowering the fees, if they start making these events a lot less expensive. And I don't know how that, how does that work? Do you make money off Fred's picture and it makes Ted's fees lower? I don't know how that works, but it is incredibly shady. And particularly it's these kids and their parents, because the parents have the wide eyes just as much as the kids do. So I'm sure they're gonna go, okay, you're gonna be seen by 40 colleges and 30 major league scouts, come to our event, but here, first sign this. It's not good, and it creates even more business sense to the game that's supposed to be played for fun and kids themselves.
Right. And now I'm not exactly clear on Major League Baseball and perfect game connection, but my understanding is that this is all part of Major League Baseball's One Baseball kind of initiative.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just to squeeze every penny of juice that they can out of the sport, and it goes against what youth sports especially is supposed to be about.
And it's not cheap. It is absolutely just your standard travel ball is not cheap for any sport. My brother-in-law, he has a club team for soccer, and they go all over the state. All, after post high school season, they go to all these showcases, and they come down from Sacramento to San Diego. They go to Vegas, and it's a full weekend. They do get seen by, colleges, and Simon's really good at getting these guys good looks for colleges, and most of them he places, in colleges, some D1, D2, but it's not cheap. And a lot of times, kids, you have to play a perfect game. You have to play travel ball just to make your high school team. You can't go from little league to freshman ball. You need to go to little league into travel ball to be skilled up to be able to make your freshman team, even into your JV in high school.
Man, it's changed so much since we were kids.
Yeah.
Because I remember having that notion that, like, if I really wanted to, I could go try out. I mean, knowing full well that I had absolutely zero chance. But if I was that kid that, made an all-star game a couple of years ago, maybe I'll give it a try. But it's not like that at all. You need so much coaching. And so next article that Brittany came out with, here, you go ahead and read this one.
So this is once the MLB bust. Travis Snyder now hopes to change youth sports toxic culture. In another fantastic read, this time focusing on the role of parents and coaches with young players. When Travis Snyder was 11 years old playing the Little League Western Regional Tournament, he suddenly started hyperventilating. Snyder had pitched a perfect first inning and hit a home run. Then in the second inning, he couldn't throw a strike. His heart rate shot up and he started crying. He had to be taken out of the game. At that time, the incident was chalked up to sports-induced asthma.
Asthma. I'll show you asthma.
Right. Sports-induced asthma. It's like hysteria,
Playing golf, I'm playing tennis.
Right. No. Only much later would he be able to admit that it had been a panic attack. So when Snyder
in the moment when you're that kid standing on the mound, it's not okay to say that I'm scared or I'm overwhelmed. I'm freaked out.
Right. You got the cameras on you and everyone's looking at you, and all this pressure has been put on these kids at such a young age. So when Snyder looks back at this panic attack now, he can see that having the game feel like life or death from a young age was debilitating, and that could ruin you for the rest of your life. I mean, how much do we learn? I always talk about this when I talk about my youth. When we're very young, 10, in from 1 to 15, all your behaviors are being downloaded. All the stuff that happens around you, from your parents to school, is downloaded into your brain, and that's how your behavior emanates out as you get older. And I always say it, anyone that gets to 30, if they haven't gone to therapy, they probably should, even though they think they shouldn't.
All those little experiences, it's your brain creating new connections. There's actually physiological stuff happening.
So that it left him unprepared to handle adversity or failure. And when he became a parent and a coach, he started to see the impact that kind of pressure can have on a young kid. So fast forward to he experienced it. He's coaching now and parenting, and he started to see it in the kids that he's coaching and parenting.
But this is 20 plus years later, after having a professional baseball career and all this stuff. Then he finally realizes, I've been emotionally messed up this whole time.
Yeah. You start to question your value as a human being, said Snyder, whose first demotion from the big leagues to AAA sent him into a tailspin. You're geared from such a young age to know your slash line, and that's what you're worth. You're 8, 9 years old, and your whole identity is based off of achievements. You're on the field not just to earn trophies, but to earn love. He goes to say, we're so focused on performance, we've lost focus on allowing our kids to develop first as human beings. And I was a product of that, Snyder said. How we parent our kids in youth sports will have lasting effects on them. And here's, one of the things I do see when I watch these Little League games up in Temecula, and primarily, literally, it's usually the other team. You see him yelling at the kids, you got to make that play. Travis, you got to get your glove down. He's coaching these kids in the middle of the game. I understand that he wants to tell him something, but while they're in the field, when you're at bat, hey, stay back. You got to make sure you hold, all this coaching in the moment does no good. It does no good for the player because it just makes it for someone who played 20 years of rec ball, who played Little League. Like when I was coached during the game, I just got more uptight. It's kind of like when your boss is in your office looking over your shoulder, you're like, I don't want to screw up, even though I'm really good at what I do. It's just that pressure, and having it on these kids at such a young age is it just defies any logic that creates decent human beings and the values that we place on ourselves.
Right. And we want our kids to learn discipline and teamwork and leadership and and
failure. Right. Baseball is failure.
Yeah. You're going to fail out there.
Being okay with not being okay is okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's part of it, is that you fail. You're going to have an emotional response. You have to figure out how to process that and move on to the next thing. And you also need your teammates around you to support you and, not treat you like a piece of garbage because you dropped a pop-up. It's a learning experience for everybody on the field. And that even has to go for the parents and everybody else. But that always makes me sick when I see those clips and the parents are all yelling at the umpires, yelling at the coaches. It's like, no, you don't get it. I always love when I see that sign that says, the coaches are volunteers, the umpires are not professionals.
Right.
These kids have fun. That kind of stuff. There's so much other stuff going on that field other than just the score and the stat line. And and most of those kids aren't going to go on to play pro baseball. They're not going to go on to play high school baseball. But they're going to go on to become professionals in something else. And that's what's important, is that they learn the proper interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
And so this is always something that just kind of tears me up when I see something like that. So I like seeing this kind of focus. And when we see the Little League World Series, there's always those feel-good moments where you see a good coach doing the right thing and having those conversations with pitcher that's struggling, or with the team that just lost, and he's telling them, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys, maybe you didn't win, but you all tried your best. You all supported each other. And that's what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah. And I think you have the coaches mic'd up when they go out to the mound. So you hear them say, hey, you're doing all right. Calming the kid down, like, hey, just focus on throwing a strike here. Not like, Billy, what are you doing? Come on, kid. What, I would just grind my teeth at these Little League games where I'm like, I just want to go like, look, dude, that does no good. Who am I? I'm just an innocent bystander that knows that loves the game, and you're ruining it for that kid by showing him up in the middle of a game.
There's a right way to do that. You pull the kid aside and say, look, this is the situation. This is what happened. This is what, if you did this, then maybe that could have happened. But there's a way you can do that without having to dress the kid down in front of everybody.
Right. Okay.
All right. So before we get to the break, we got one more thing here from last week. We talked about Nathan Martorella, but there was a quote in the Mad Friars thing. So about his lack of power. And so we were talking before we'd gotten the interview put in here, but he said a significant factor is the home field. I've nothing against the Wolf, but when the wind blows in every night at 30 miles per hour from right field, there's no point in hitting up into that wind because you will be out every time. You have to play where you're playing. At home, your hits will be lone line drives in the gaps. The reality of the Wolf is you need to be able to hit for average here. It would help if you drove in runs with line drives because you aren't going to beat the wind. The park being what it is, I don't have any complaints, and I love being in San Antonio, but you need to make solid contact with the barrel of the bat to succeed here.
Yeah. And it's, it's the exact opposite, say, at somewhere like at Hodgetown, the wind blows out. So you hit a pop fly, it goes out. And that ruins the pitchers. You can't evaluate. And as a player, you're like, God, I just crushed that. And it was caught well before you start changing your game if you don't know that. So knowing where you play is really important. And the coaches know that. The coaches see that, you squared that up. keep doing that. We see a pop fly to the outfield, or we see something else, but the coaches see that. But it could change the way you play the game because you're hitting the ball hard, but it's not going out, or it's getting caught. It could definitely affect your approach. And in AA is where, certainly here in the Texas League, that's where the rubber meets the road in AA. So you got there for a reason, and then all of a sudden it's not working because the field you're playing in is different. It could really screw with your self, not your self-worth, but it also can screw with your development because you're trying too hard. You're trying to change things up to make it get just that farther to get over the wall, or just that farther to get into the gaps.
Well, when your entire self-worth is tied into what that stat line says, then it does start to tie into that. But what this shows me is a lot of maturity from Nathan Martorella, a lot of understanding about the game of baseball and where he's at and what he needs to be. Because like you were saying, if you can just naturally rake, you can make it through single A. You get to double A, that's where the pitchers have a more advanced approach. A hitter needs to have a more advanced approach, conversely. And so to be able to understand the playing conditions on where your home field is and understand that you need to make adjustments in your game to accommodate that, that's a lot of guys don't figure that out for many, many, many more years. And I think what we're seeing with the big league team, the hitting coaches finally are spreading that philosophy of, okay, Petco Park, especially April, May, June, you've got that dense, humid air, and the ball's just not going to fly out. And so you need to find your run somewhere else. And they're not way up in the air. They're line drives. And that's, I feel like we're seeing that almost across the board now. These guys are hitting line drives, situational baseball, taking what they're given. And that just makes guys better hitters overall. Cause then you run into home runs. You're not seeking home runs. You're looking for that double in the gap. And then you get into one and, oh, hey, it's 10 rows deep. There you go.
Absolutely. And you see that in somewhere like Fort Wayne, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, the affiliate rundown, where the first month and a half, they're just starting to thaw out. It's just starting to get above, 65 degrees. And in the beginning of the season, it is in the 50s easy, at night, and not much warmer during the day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as we get into the affiliate rundown, but let's do that right after this quick break.
For Inland Empire, Macias Garcia, 8-9-1 for the 66ers. Check swing. He definitely ran around.
All right, to start with the affiliate rundown in the ACL. Painting the corners. Wednesday, after making a stateside debut with one inning of work Saturday, 19-year-old Maikel Miralles came back with 3 perfect innings and 5 strikeouts. After signing out of Venezuela last January, the righty logged just 10 1/3 innings in the DSL. Here's some video on him right now. Thursday, Kybler Olmedo picked up his first stateside victory as he got the job done with 3 strikeouts and 3 scoreless innings as well.
I always love this time of year with the ACL that you're starting to hear names for the first time. And it's like, okay, who do we need to start keeping an eye on?
Absolutely.
All right, so Wednesday, Dante Grant, I've already seen his name a few times this year. On Wednesday, center fielder Dante Grant had the best night of his professional career, tallying 3 hits while swiping his 3rd bag of the season. The 19-year-old from Puyallup, Washington, signed with the Padres as an undrafted free agent last year. And then on Thursday, Yendry Rojas went 2 for 3 with a double and scored a pair of runs while driving in one of his own. The 19-year-old infielder, a left-handed hitter, is batting .333 after getting his first hits of the season.
Very nice. So Dante Grant must have signed as a free agent, as a high school free agent. If you signed, 19-year-old this year, signed last year at 18.
Yeah, the Padres have been a little more aggressive with that. I think part of that is because now you can sign, I think it's up to the first $150,000 of the bonus doesn't count toward the bonus pool. So they can offer the undrafted free agents a little bit more money. That's probably like a reflexive action of shortening the draft, because now it's only 20 rounds, where it used to be 45 deep, and they could offer a little more money to kids deeper in the draft.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Lake Elsinore. Leo DeVries, everybody's asking where he's been. He continues to be held out of the lineup. He's been out of action since he suffered a left shoulder injury diving for a ball in San Jose. He's still in Lake Elsinore. They haven't put him on the injured list, so that says that he's close to a return, but there's no timeline. So I'll lead it off here with painting the corners. Tuesday, lefty Fernando Sanchez turned in one of the finest starts of his career, twirling 6 solid innings. He allowed just 1 run on 2 hits, striking out 5 while not allowing a free pass. It was the first time he completed 6 innings as a professional. Congratulations, Fernando Sanchez. Then on Thursday, Mad Friars Kevin Charity was in Lake Elsinore. If you guys, if you're not following Mad Friars already, you're missing out. But this time of year, they've got guys going out to the affiliates to do big write-ups on their games when they're in town. So Sam Whiting completed 3 shutout innings, his longest outing as he gets stretched out. He was a starter, missed some time with Tommy John coming back. Lefty Harry Gustin worked a career high 5 innings and allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. I'm intrigued by Harry Gustin. I saw last year they drafted him out of Hawaii. He's a lefty reliever, kind of a swing man, kind of do everything kind of a guy. So I'm intrigued to see what he does this year.
I watched a little bit of that game and was like, who is this kid? Like, who is this skinny white kid on the mound throwing BBs? He's got a mid 90s fastball. I was like, who the hell is this kid? So I put him in the affiliate. I put him in the rundown.
I love it. And then on Saturday, Isaiah Lowe, he was on fire. He pitched a season high 4 innings and sat down a career high 9 batters by way of the K. 21-year-old is being built up slowly after an injury shortened 2023. K's are contagious. As good as Lowe was, Dwayne Matos may have been even better as he struck out 6 batters in 2 2/3 innings. Dwayne Matos has been in the organization for a while now. It's about time to see him start making some moves.
Yeah, he's 23. He was up in Fort Wayne, I think earlier this year, but last year, every time he goes up there, he kind of gets knocked around a little bit. Bring him back down, let him reset. Isaiah Lowe, you didn't read it. Isaiah Lowe was set on high, was what I wrote there.
I get it. Okay.
Oh, anyways, but yeah, he's another kid that the Mad Friars talked to in spring training. Keep an eye on that name. Remember Isaiah Lowe and remember Dwayne Matos as he tried to work his way back up through the system. Still young at 23, but he's going to have to figure it out here pretty soon. So on the Screws, Tuesday was a morning game, an 11 a.m. start in Lake E. It was school day.
That was weird. Why did they do that start that early? Was there a reason for that?
Well, yeah, most minor league teams have that school day. So most of those 11 o'clock starts are all elementary school kids that get a chance to go to the ball game.
What, like they get a field trip to go to the baseball game?
Yeah.
I didn't get cool field trips like that.
No. Well, did you live in a minor league city?
No, that's a good point.
Right. But I've seen it with Lake E. I've seen it with Fort Wayne. I've seen it with other minor league teams. I don't think I'm not sure if it's the higher the level, but it's not the first time that's done this, but it's usually a day game, 11 a.m. start. But Jay Bashir's had a nice morning. He slugged a double as well as connected on his second homer of the season. The Florida native has drawn 29 free passes in 24 games while leading the Storm with a 1.022 OPS. Then Thursday, Nick Vogt set a new career high with 4 hits. He singled 3 times and hit a triple to the vast left center gap in his home park. He also added a pair of stolen bases. Now we're going to put in Sam Levitt was up there on that Thursday because it was an off day for the Padres. And this is the second time. For those of you guys don't know, Sam Levitt really wants to do play-by-play for a living. It's what he's really good at. Listen to the call, watch the video on the YouTube, and anytime you get to hear him on the radio, it's just he has that golden voice. But that's what he really wants to do, and he does a great job with the pre and post game. I've learned some things on just his interviewing on how to set the frame for the camera and the mic that we had earlier that he sent me with during spring training. But check out this video. It's a great call. It's a crushing hit as well.
2 innings. Young, a scoreless third. Out of the windup in the 1-0. Swinging a high fly ball into left center. Castillo going back on the run. Nobody gets it. Rolls all the way by the warning track. Around second and on his way to third is Vogt. Going for a triple and he slides in there safely. Nick Vogt with a leadoff triple.
Friday, Mad Friars David J was in attendance to watch Romeo Sanabria hit his 4th home run of the season, a towering shot over the right field ad wall. They call it the big ad monster, I think. They call it the ad monster. The first baseman also had a single and a walk on the night and has now reached base in 5 straight.
I recently learned a little bit that I didn't know. So Jackpot the Rabbit, they used to have that manually operated scoreboard out there. And when somebody would hit a home run, Jackpot would come out and do a little dance, kind of do the robot dance out in front. Well, Jackpot was in there operating. He was the scoreboard operator. He or she, I don't know.
Right.
Not with the, but I mean, it must have been wearing the suit the whole time. And then the hat's just, the helmet's just sitting there like, oh no, home run. All right, I got to do my thing. Go out there, do the dance.
Take it off. Here's a run. Here's the next inning.
I missed that. That's part of the fun stuff about minor league baseball. I hope that they bring that back at some point in the future.
And the squirrel, the squirrel, I don't know what was the squirrel's name. Fastest squirrel in the West.
Gosh.
So he was a third. So that guy was he was in his late 20s. He was a track star in college. He did that for a couple of years, and then eventually he had to, get a real job and move on.
Yeah, but that's just you happen to hire somebody and through conversation find, oh yeah, I was all state in track. Yeah. Oh hey, we can do something with that. That's minor league baseball for you. Yeah. Okay, so batting around, we got a little picture-in-picture here to show you what Jacob Campbell did. Manager Lucas Ray on Jacob Campbell. He's only been here a short time, but he's already hit about 5 or 6 balls with triple-digit velocity, said Storm manager Lucas Ray after the Storm victory. So he's been impressive. He joined the Storm just last Tuesday. You don't see a whole lot of triple-digit velocity in Lowe. Jacob Campbell's a high school kid.
Yeah, if you see this guy, he looks just like Jeff Bagwell. He is short. He is stocky. He has that same swing. You're going to see the video. You're going to see the video on the YouTube. I like the kid. I've only watched one at bat.
Does he have that same stance where his feet are like on both chalk lines and so spread out?
The swing looks just like Jeff Bagwell. Yeah, definitely. So.
Nice. Okay. Well, manager Lucas Ray again on Thursday's pitching performance. We were able to get Whiting stretched out to 3 innings, which is important, said Ray. For Gustin, that was the second time he was able to give us at least 4 innings without allowing more than 2 runs, which was huge. And I think the previous time that he went that long was just the week prior.
Yeah.
So, that's an important thing. You got to have that guy on your minor league team, especially in the low A level, that you're going to have a starter that goes out and maybe they're planning on getting 3 or 4 innings out of him, but something happens. He gets roughed up and he only makes it through, barely makes it through 2, if that. And then you need somebody that can go out there and eat up a bunch of game time. And those guys tend to get kind of used and abused a little bit, but if you succeed at that and you show that you can handle the being thrown into the fire, who knows what kind of opportunities open up.
And that's huge. That opens up opportunities. So let's move on to Fort Wayne. Pain in the corners. Tuesday was for a second consecutive start. Emmanuel Pinales pitched his minor league baseball career high with 7 strikeouts as he pitched 5 scoreless innings. He yielded just 2 out single in the first, though he walked 4 batters too. The league is hitting only 132 off him, the best in the league by 31 points. Now, Emmanuel, if you remember, he was the breakout Arizona Fall League. He was coming in out of the bullpen. Super young kid. Did pretty well and put his name out there for the Arizona Fall League. All right, Jagger Haynes started strong. Retiring 10 of the first 11 batters he faced. Then I tweeted to Mad Friars, who had mentioned something about him, and I'm like, he's really found it. And then walk. He hit a batter, a double, a walk with 1 out in the 4th inning, and then they just took him out. And I'm like, I need a DM. I'm like, sorry, dude, that was all me. I just give you props. And then I just went literally downhill right after I did that. Something absolutely to build on with Jagger. He's still coming back from injury and with the blister. So, development and progress is not linear. And if you notice, I don't even have Dylan Lesko on here because he just had another one of those outings where he did okay for a couple innings and it just kind of fell apart. That's what happens with these young kids at this age. And, they're just getting ready to get started. So he's right on the cusp of just dominating and then loses focus or loses arm slot. And it just kind of goes. But that's how it goes when you're learning how to pitch as a professional.
Well, so you jinxed Jagger. You didn't jinx Dylan in the same way, did you? Did you message Mad Friars? Oh, hey, Dylan looks like he's found it.
No, I didn't get a chance to watch Dylan start. But Friday,
did you watch the game, the Padres game on Sunday? Because the opposite happened in the first inning.
Yeah.
Orsillo's telling us about, Tatis is only batting like 185 in the first inning. And then like the very next pitch, boom, home run, deep center, no doubter. Love it. Love it. So keep the compliments to yourself until after he's done. Right. But if you have something like, he's only doing this, he's on a slump, you go ahead and say that, because you might reverse the jinx.
Yeah. Making it right. Making it that's how that works. Never give props on Twitter because it'll just shoot you in the foot. But anyways, Friday, after scoring an unearned run in each of the first 2 innings against starter Henry Baez, he got locked in. Over the next 5 2/3, Baez matches career high with 8 strikeouts. Just another one of those kids that did really well in Lake Elsinore, has struggled a little bit early in Fort Wayne, I think, this year, but he's starting to pull it together. As it gets warmer, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, you're starting to see a little more performances. People are starting to get a little more stretched out, a little more innings in them, and it's starting to be a full season ball.
It's always nice to see somebody through 5 2/3 scoreless, but seeing that somebody got knocked around a little bit and then found a groove, that says something to me about their mentality, that they can still lock it in after a rough start.
Absolutely.
So moving on to On the Screws. On Tuesday, Ethan Salas had his first multi-extra base hit night of the season. He collected a double and a triple, adding a sacrifice fly in the 10th inning. Kai Murphy and Homer Bush Jr. each had 2 hits. Both of HBJ's hits were infield singles, showing off his speed. He tacked on his 13th stolen base of the year, which is second in the league. We're waiting for Homer Bush to start hitting some fly balls and driving some extra base hits, because we know it's in there. It's coming on slow to start the season. On Thursday, William Cedeno, who followed up his first 2-hit game since April 9th, had another 2-hit game. Nick McLaury joined the multi-hit parade as well. And then on Saturday, HBJ is beginning to thaw. Homer collected 2 of the Tin Cap's 6 hits, including his second double of the series. Bush is hitting .353, .405, .412 in May, plus tack on another 2 knocks with a go-ahead 2-run single on Sunday.
I was putting it together, and he had a great game. Okay, I'm just going to tag that one in there. Like I said, it's starting to get warm in Fort Wayne, and some of these guys are starting to heat up. Happens a lot. Like, it gets cold in that area of the country, and playing baseball, pitching in that batting, playing baseball in that cold weather is not conducive to doing anything good.
Right. Have you seen the little post-game celebration award? They've got the tin cap, the pot with Johnny Tin Cap on the front that they award to the player of the game. So on Sunday, I saw that it was Homer Bush Jr. because he had the big game that day. And Mama Bush was in the stands. It seems like I think Monica is just following him around wherever he goes this year. So happy Mama's Day to Monica Bush out there. I'm sure she was the happiest mama in Fort Wayne that day.
Absolutely. So batting around, of Fort Wayne's first 14 games, only one was decided by 3 more than 3 runs. In all, the Caps now have played 10 one-run games, 7 2-run games, and 2 3-run games. The Caps also played 5 extra inning games, most in the Midwest League.
That's a lot of close games. That's a lot of nail biters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pitching getting it done. That's defense getting it done. That's keeping those games close. Kai Murphy has 10 doubles, second in the Midwest League. 3 sack bunts is third in the Midwest League. They track sack bunts, and that's a stat. So that's what happens in minor league baseball. That's what happens in baseball. They track everything.
Well, but that says something. I mean, you're not going to ask everybody to lay down a sacrifice bunt. They're probably going to not ask Ethan Salas to drop a bunt down very often, but when you're a kid that's getting it done however it needs to get done, you need to move a runner over, you need to do this. And it sounds like Kai Murphy's kind of becoming that guy. He's playing all over the fleet, all over the outfield, plays good defense. He's a good base runner, pretty good hitter. These balanced guys, maybe the skills just keep coming up all together. And next thing you know, he's a big leaguer. Yeah.
Next thing you know, he's a Ty France. Just does everything, hits well, does everything a little bit, does everything pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Azocar's kind of become that guy for the Padres.
Absolutely. And speed is that kid's game. Absolutely speeds that kid's game. But something that we didn't talk about that happened this week, and that was the death of former Fort Wayne Wizard and San Diego Padre and Major Leaguer third baseman Sean Burroughs. What a shock to the system. He died Thursday at the age of 43, but in 1999, as an 18-year-old, he set several franchise records for the then Fort Wayne Wizards. He still holds, including highest average at 359, highest OBP at 464, and a 56-game on-base streak.
Yeah, he was 43. I'm 45. And that's just a shocker. You figure the guy grew up an athlete. He was about to go out and coach his kids, I think 11-year-old's little league game. What a loss. And I've heard so many good things about him from fans and broadcasters. It just sounds like the guy was an all-around good guy to the people that were around him. His big league career didn't pan out the way that a lot of people wanted it to. But it sounds like inside the uniform was a really good human, and it's a big loss that he's no longer with us.
Yeah. And, during his playing days, he suffered from alcoholism. He had a drinking problem. I think after he left baseball, I think he fixed that. I think he got sober. Certainly having an 11-year-old child and being a coach certainly lends to that idea that he did turn it around. Also, how many baseball players can say they were on David Letterman as a kid,
Yeah, well, he was back-to-back Little League World. Did they win the World Series back-to-back years?
I don't know.
Like that.
I don't know, but he was saucy as a kid on Letterman, and I love that.
Well, he was out there throwing no-hitters and hitting dingers.
Yeah.
11 years old. What an athlete.
Dude, and he had the chin back then. Like it's funny. I played football against he was a Padre for a while. God, Marcos, his had a brother named Marcos. Played for the Pirates, came to play with the Padres. Come on.
I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know.
Right, left-handed hitter. Anyways, I played high school football against him, and he had that chin back then. God, he's right when Petco Park opened. He came over from the Pirates. Yeah,
Giles.
So
Giles.
I played high school football against that guy, and you saw that jaw as a professional athlete. Dude, he had that thing as a sophomore in high school. Like he had the same giant jaw in high school, and Burroughs had that same kind of chubby face, as a kid.
Oh, all right. So let's take it on to San Antonio. All right. So painting the corners on Tuesday, Austin Krob had a strong start Tuesday after going through a brief rough patch. The Southpaw allowed 1 earned run on 7 hits and 5 1/3 innings of work on Tuesday. Krob issued just 1 walk along the way and pitched out of a bases loaded jam in the first inning. Of the 14 outs he recorded, 12 were on the ground. That's important, being able to get a lot of ground balls, being able to limit the walks.
Yeah.
Adam Mazur recorded his 3rd win and 3rd quality start on Wednesday night. He threw 6 shutout innings for the 2nd straight outing. This time he allowed only 3 base runners. Mazur's been nearly untouchable on the road this season. In 4 starts, he's 3-0 with a .41 ERA. That's 22 innings pitched, and he's only allowed 1 earned run. He's allowed just 11 hits on the road while striking out 20 batters.
Okay,
and
so now
Donovan's he's got one. You got the video for the strikeout right here.
Well, and here's the thing: is like remember we were talking about in Amarillo, where the gun was saying 98, 97, 96. Like, was that gun hot? He throws 97 here in this video.
During his career with San Antonio, 15 hits across 16 games head-to-head. 1-2, swing and a miss. Got him with a high fastball at 97 to strike him out. And it's only his 3rd strikeout of the outing, but he gets out of the 6th. No runs a hit, no errors, and a runner left on. We go to the top of the 7th, 7-0 Missions.
Yeah, so next week we're going to talk about the interview that Mad Friars just dropped. I had no idea that he's such a string bean. He's 6'3", and I guess just now he clocked in at like 185 pounds for the first time. He's proud that he's putting on bulk at 185 pounds. I'm like, I got an extra 20 or 30 I could lend you if you want.
Dude, I haven't seen 185 since I was like 27.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
All right, so Thursday, Ryan Bergert turned in a nice bounce-back effort after getting tagged for 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning in his last outing. The righty out of West Virginia looked more like his usual self, cruising through 4 scoreless innings before things came apart for him and his defense in the 5th. In 4 1/3 innings, he gave up 5 hits, 5 runs, only 2 earned. Oh my gosh.
They kicked the ball around a little bit on Ryan, and you hate to see it, but that's why you don't scout the stat line. You see the 5-run score, but only 2 of them are earned because they just kept throwing the ball around, and it happens.
Right. I mean, that's minor league baseball again for you. So Friday, despite the rough first inning where Robbie Snelling gave up two runs, he turned in a quality start, pitching a season high 6 innings while allowing 3 runs on 5 hits. He issued 2 walks while striking out 2 batters. Now, Snelling's been doing a good job of limiting the walks and getting the strikeouts, but guys have been hitting him. So that's where I hope to see. We were talking about adjustments as the season goes by. He figures out what he needs to do about his approach, about his pitch mix, about his location, maybe game planning kind of things. And last year, you saw he was just learning how to put together game notes. You know, how to scout the other team before the game. So hopefully we see some growth with Robbie Snelling, where guys like Bergert and especially Mazur, we're looking at them as, okay, at some point they're going to need another starter. And if they look back to AA, I hope you guys are ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Robbie, you talked about it a little earlier. That first inning was just horrible. He could not find the strike zone, and so whenever you threw over the get me over curveball, it was just coming right over the plate and they were hitting it. He gave up the 2 runs, and I was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. That was it. After that, he got through it. He just kind of bared down. Didn't have the greatest, it was a quality start, but I want to see some adversity from some of these guys. I want to see some adversity in someone like Robbie Snelling. He, as smart as he is and as hard as he works, like you said, you find the right pitch mix. Maybe you need to add a little velocity on your pitch. Maybe you need to change the shape of some of your pitches. Adversity does not, when these guys fail or have bad innings like this, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You want them to learn, and the only way you can learn is by getting knocked around, is by losing it. Maybe he lost I think he certainly lost the fastball. He couldn't get it over the plate, so he started throwing the breaking stuff, and they were hitting it. So he made those adjustments. So as you continue to develop, he's going to learn from that, and that's what these guys do. You learn from every start, good or bad. But seeing, real quick, we saw a lot of that with Mackenzie Gore. The guy just didn't fail until he got to like AA. And then all of a sudden he started to fail, and you're like, well, then he had to do and change it up. He was forced to get better by the performance on the field.
Yeah, he had to go through it for a little while.
Yeah.
So Mark Grant, I love him as a broadcaster, and usually we think about him as just being like, goofy, funny, entertaining, which was one of the things I love about him. But every once in a while, he'll drop a little nugget about pitching, and he'll talk about when somebody's struggling with a pitch, and he's like, okay, well, they would have me throw this certain pitch because then if I'm going to throw, if I'm going to try to throw a cutter, I have to stay on top of it, and that'll make me get a better feel for my slider or something like that. I wonder if some of that is going on in between innings when you see somebody go out, they're struggling in that first inning, and then like he can't locate the fastball, and then for whatever reason something clicks. Was it because he just kind of found himself, or is it because of some little adjustment, something about stride length, something about, where your toes step, and when you're the things you don't realize, but somebody else might see it.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that they talked about with, Jeff Sanders talked about with Ruben Niebla and Matt Waldron, was he's a tall guy. So he was striding way too far, and his pitches were flattening out. So they shortened his stride. Which just short. I don't know what it does, but they shortened his stride, and he had this last outing, which was just lights out.
That's interesting, because I was actually looking, and his extension numbers are way up there. He's got one of the longest extensions of anybody on the team, in part because of that long stride, but that might not necessarily work for you. Think about Tim Wakefield and R.A. Dickey. Those guys were short striders.
Right.
I think back to all the Charlie Huff and Phil Necro and all those guys, none of them had a long stride.
Right. It was
you do a long stride because you're reaching back for velocity, but you can't really do that when you're trying to float a knuckler up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So take us through on the screws.
All right, so check this out. On the screws Tuesday, Marcus Castagnol returned to the lineup on Tuesday. Castagnol was placed on the injured list on April 22nd after being hit in the face with a pitch on the 20th. I DM'd him. I'm like, dude, what happened? He's like, I got a stitch. So he's got one stitch in the face. I think it's out by now, but he's wearing a face guard. He was batting.
They call it the schnozzaroo in NBA. The schnozzaroo.
The schnozzaroo.
So I messaged him too. I told him, hey, I see you're back out there. You got the schnozzaroo. That's a good look for you. But I told him, but seriously, it's good to see you back out there and doing your thing. He doesn't look like he's unfazed. A lot of guys, they take one up and in like that, and they're a little bit flinchy. They're a little bit timid, and that's not a problem. He's looking good in the box and in the field.
Yeah, the first game back, he got a couple knocks. This game on two, he got a couple knocks. I have some video here of him just smoking the ball to third base, but then you really get to see him with the schnozzle. What'd you call it again? The
schnozzaroo.
The schnozzaroo. That right here.
On a home run. It's a bad guess.
The righty deals, and this one ripped down the line. A leaping grab by Cody Freeman at third. What a play by the Rough Riders third baseman. It's a quick 1-2-3 frame for Andy Rodriguez.
Moving on, Wednesday he had two more hits where you can see him wearing his face guard, protecting his mask while he heals. He received one stitch. He received one stitch again. Anyways, Robert Perez Jr. put together his strongest performance in the 2024 season. Last night, he went 3 for 4 at the plate with a double and 4 RBIs.
All right.
One of those minor leagues free agent guys that come on and put it together.
Yeah, he's a massive human. I saw him in spring training. He's a big guy. All right, so batting around here, we got Cole Cummings has been one of the hottest hitters in the Texas League after going 2 for 5 on Thursday. He's reached base safely in his last 11 games. And then reliever Carter Lowe made his first appearance since April 24th. The right-hander retired all 3 batters he faced during a scoreless 6th inning appearance on Saturday. Of his 7 appearances this season, 5 of them have resulted in 0 earned runs. I wonder why he was out. Guys will be dealing with something and they don't really, it's not reported. You never hear why, but glad to see him back up on the bump.
Absolutely. And sometimes just to give those guys a breather. You see it happen in the major leagues all the time where they go on the IL or they skip a start just to kind of give them a breather. And you've heard Schilt talk about that a little bit with giving guys a breather by putting them on the IL and skipping a start. And that really helps if you have a deep rotation that you can do that with.
You gotta be careful. There are rules. There's, because the Mets just got their hands smacked pretty hard for abusing the injured list and a little phantom IL action. So like Joe Musgrove being on the injured list, yeah, it's a good time to give him a couple weeks off, but there really is something going on with his shoulders, tricep, whatever. And I'd rather him get a couple weeks off, come back looking fresh and dominant, for the next few months rather than try to play through something that nags him the whole season.
Right. And it gets worse and worse. But believe me, I heard the story where they put Mark Grace on the IL because he came in too drunk to play.
Oh my God.
Back then it was called the DL, but yeah, I heard that story. I guess, he came in, he's like, all right. They put him on the DL.
Oh my God. AJ Przinsky has a pretty good story about that, where they wanted to put him on the injured list. They were coming up with a reason. And he said, you need to say that I have this specific injury. And it was something that was fairly disgusting when you look it up. But that had to be the story. If he was going to go on the IL, that's what they did.
That's so funny. Some of those bizarre. God, there was a player, and I just heard the story back again not too long ago. God, we're going on a tangent here. Todd Helton, I think, gave some player deer meat, and he fell down the stairs trying to carry it up to his apartment or something like that, and was like, I can't remember that player. It just came up in the past 6 months or so.
Every year there's one of those where somebody hurts themselves doing something weird. They pull a rib muscle sneezing, or they fall off
weight on his foot.
Yeah. Or they're washing their mini truck and they fall off, allegedly.
All right, let's get on to El Paso and get out of here.
All right, so painting the corners. On Wednesday, Albuquerque scored 5 runs against Lake Bacher. Man, the air came out of the balloon. Come on now.
Yes.
In what was just the second time the past 2 seasons, Bacher has allowed more than 1 earned run in an outing. He's been cruising this whole
Yeah.
time. It's the
Yep.
one little blip. Okay, so there again, you don't scout the stat line. When you
Nope.
go and look at his ERA, go look at the game log, and you'll see one game where he scored 5 runs, and hopefully he starts laying down a bunch of goose eggs from here out. The weekend saw solid pitching performances. Starting Friday, Ryan Carpenter allowed only 1 earned run in 6 2/3 innings, which was the longest start by a Chihuahua this season. Ryan Carpenter has some major league experience. He
Yep.
pitched overseas. Now he's back. This is his chance to get back into affiliated ball. Definitely somebody to keep your eye on. When they need to pull up a starter, they might be pulling him up.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday, Jackson Wolf allowed 3 runs in 6 innings. After allowing 3 runs in the first inning, Wolf bounced back with 5 scoreless, setting down 9 of 10 batters he faced. He's allowed only 4 earned runs in 17 innings. The bullpen has been lights out too as this week. Relievers Alec Jacob, Austin Davis, and Nick Hernandez all pitched scoreless outings. The Chihuahuas haven't allowed any runs in their last 8 relief appearances. So again, pitching on the moon. So
Yeah.
he goes out there, gives up 3 runs in his first inning, and then 5 scoreless after that.
Yeah.
It's almost like you need to wave that one bad
Yeah.
inning off and look at the good stuff. At least that's
Make-
what I try to do because I'm an optimist.
Right. Absolutely. That's the adjustments you make. Sometimes you're not right. You're not release point's not good. You're just finding too much plate, and it takes to get knocked around. And good pitchers do that. You see it happen all the time in major leagues. It reminds me of the last time Dar pitched several starts back, where he threw like 35 pitches in the first inning, and then ended up still pitching into the 6th inning because the next 2 innings were like 15 pitches, 20 pitches, 8 pitches. He just like being able to make that adjustment in game as a pitcher is going to make you a big leaguer. It's certainly you're going to be a big leaguer that way.
Right. And I don't know what happened in that first inning, but
Right.
weird things happen in the minor leagues. It could have been a ground ball that somebody booted that was ruled a hit, and then a fly ball that would have been caught, on the grass
Anywhere
in a big
else,
league
right?
stadium. But because you're playing in El Paso, Albuquerque, Fresno, whatever, it's 10 rows deep. It's weird stuff happens in the minors.
Yeah.
And that's part of the beauty of it.
You want to go on the screws? On the screws Tuesday, Tim LaCastre went 5. So talk about the moon. Let's talk about it on the screws. Tim LaCastre went 5 for 6 with a double and 3 RBIs. It was LaCastre's career high for hits in a game and the Chihuahuas' first 5-hit game by individual players since Brett Sullivan on April 5th. That was just like last month.
Yeah, Brett Sullivan's been pretty on fire.
Been pretty beastie, if you want to say it like that. Matthew Batten went 4 for 6 with a double and 2 RBIs. It was the 46th career double at Southwest University Park, which passed Taylor Colway for the most in the ballpark's history.
Yeah, so El Paso, I need to pay more attention. They were in Las Vegas last week.
Yeah.
And Las Vegas, when it gets warm and the wind starts blowing, that place becomes an absolute launching pad.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather was like but I mean, even hour to hour, the weather changes in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna. I mean, it's gonna be another launching pad once they get a big league baseball stadium in there with the heat and the dry heat and the way the ball flies.
Yeah. And the infields are going to be super hard. It's going to be super fast. You're going to get a lot of hits there. And where the ballpark is for Vegas, it's in the high outside part of the town. So the wind blows there. I remember seeing the last season that Ty France was there. I saw him hit a ball dead center. Had to be 70 feet past 400 sign. He hit it. There's a walkway in center field. He hit it over that in Vegas. It's like playing on the moon, literally.
It really is.
All right. So Wednesday, Brett Sullivan continues to hit. Sullivan drove in 4 runs to tie a season high and added 2 more extra base hits. Thursday, he had a homer and a double. Like, once again, this is just all their games this week were like 15-8 and 12-9. They were just, someone was scoring double digits, if not both teams.
I don't know if you saw today, but they came out with their AAA Players of the Week, and of course, over on the east side, it was James Wood because he has just been going crazy. But Brett Sullivan got that little mini award from MLB.com on their Twitter account for the PCL.
God, let's talk about James Wood for a minute.
Oh my gosh,
He's hitting 2 home runs a game like he did it twice in a week.
Making it look easy.
And then one of those where it hit off a position player, it said 57 miles per hour going in, like 107 going out. He hit a ball off, some guy just trying to get through the inning, and he smokes when dead center over the 400 sign. Just insane.
That's hard to do when those guys are up there just kind of lobbing. They're not even throwing BP fastballs. They're lobbing little eephus pitches. It's hard to turn that around with that kind of velocity.
Yeah, that's all James Wood right there. And it is a crime that he is not in the major leagues. And I understand that he's having problems against lefties. There's reasons why he's still there. There's lots to work on. You want him to come up most prepared. And, the Nationals ain't going anywhere this year. So let him develop. Let him get another year in the minors. Maybe bring him up, post All-Star game. But I wouldn't be. He will be a major leaguer this year. If not, there's got to be something going on with the Nationals.
Well, and as much of a monster as he's starting to look like, I mean, I don't know if it's quite Aaron Judge levels of hype, but you start to think about what's going to happen in year 4, 5, 6 of this guy's career. What kind of income is he going to be bringing? And, how can you prolong that team control? It wouldn't surprise me to hear that behind closed doors, they're playing some of those games with guys like James Wood.
Absolutely. And you don't want to bring him up too early and reach free agency too soon or hit arbitration. Right. We're a few more years away. Like, you want those guys to come up and kind of all come together. I'm not sure who else is in that system that is probably in that kind of range, but Mackenzie Gore's pitching I saw him pitch this weekend. He pitched pretty good. Gave up 3 runs, but he's there. He's coming along great.
CJ Abrams is doing great things over there right now.
Abrams is just the man right now. And it's fun watching those guys do so well. It hurts to watch them do so well with other teams.
It does. I was going to pull up what Robert Hassel's doing while you were going on about that, but because Robert Hassel's actually, I understand he's having a pretty good season. Yeah, he's batting .299, 400 on base with a .402 slugging. So he's kind of getting his legs back under him on Double A, because last year didn't do so well. But he's starting to look like the guy that we thought he was going to be again.
Bobby Barrels.
So yeah, it hurts a little bit seeing these guys doing what they're doing, knowing that they could have been ours, that they were ours. They're our little baby friars.
Right. There are baby friars, but also look what we got on Friday, like Michael King. We got so much for the Juan Soto, and let Juan Soto be Juan Soto somewhere else. For our side of the family, maybe he'll be a Met next year. Talk some, for my,
he seems pretty happy in New York. Oh man. Right.
So I think Cohen might just throw back up the truck, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah. All right, batting around. We'll continue on with the on the screws. Friday, Eggy Rosario went 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and a walk. It was the 8th time this year an El Paso player hit 2 doubles in a game. He took on his first homer since being optioned. As well on Saturday.
Yeah, so Donavan Solano took his job. I'm sure he felt a little bit bitter about that, watching the veteran come through the door, and now he's got to go take the shuttle over to El Paso and make a fraction of the money. But he was striking out a lot with the big league club. He was hitting for power. He was playing good defense, but that strikeout rate was higher than a team wants, and especially if the team's trying to reach patience and line drives and discipline and situational hitting. You're not necessarily somebody that you can trust to bring up when you need somebody to get a bat on the ball. So sending him down, tell him, okay, work on this, work on that. I hope he doesn't fall in love with the moon ball while he's playing on the moon. Because if he can start spraying the ball and really kind of get his approach to that line drive approach versus the fly ball approach.
Yeah, far I can hit it. Yeah.
I've come around. For the longest time, I kind of looked at him as utility infield kind of fringy guy, but he has shown me some stuff. I think he could be a major league player and have his starting job on a major league team for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what the team needs right now, we need professional at bats, and that's what Donavan Solano gives you. And a professional at bat where he's going to work the count. And it's not going to cost us anything. It's not going to cost development time with someone like Eggy or even Graham Pauly. Like, you want those guys working on the stuff in AAA And when they're ready to come up, they'll be ready. And that's when Donavan Solano will be released. We bring up one of those guys and we'll go on from there. But I think bringing Donavan Solano up this last week has done pretty well. He's done well.
Oh yeah, he has. Last time I saw, he was batting like 375, and the guy's just putting the bat on the ball.
Yeah.
All right, so batting around on Tuesday, the Chihuahuas saw 192 pitches, which is the most they've seen in a game this season. 5 different Chihuahuas had a multi-hit game, and all 9 starting position players had at least 1 hit. On Wednesday's game, at 3 hours and 16 minutes, the game was the longest of the season for El Paso. So on one game, you got offense all over the place. The next game, you got just another grinder going. And with 3 hours, 16 minutes, that's the longest of the season. I mean,
that's pretty
a couple
short.
Years ago, that was a short major league game.
Yeah.
And then on Thursday, Tim LeCastro and Brett Sullivan hit back-to-back home runs. It was the first set of back-to-back home runs by the Chihuahuas since Sullivan and Jansen Whitty did it last year, June 30th, 2023. Back-to-back.
Giant bombs are what you take. Batting
Walking
on the moon.
All right. So next week, I know that we're going to talk about some interviews with Ryan Bergert and Adam Mazur. I know we've got a Rocky series and a Brave series that we'll be recapping. Then all the minor league teams are going to be in action. Donavan, it's always nice catching up with you.
Always great doing this. I love you, man. Till then, you can see me, or you can find me on Twitter at SD Donavan.
You can find me on Twitter at Zippy_TMS.
Follow, hit, subscribe, do all that stuff, all the jive.
See you next week.
But I wanted to on my own. I don't give a